Now, it's my great pleasure this afternoon to actually introduce the main part of Help for Heroes here, and that's Captain Ed Addington. Now, Ed was wounded in Afghanistan in 2009, and he's just come to tell you his story.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and talk on behalf of Help for Heroes and perhaps shed a little bit more light on what they do. In the summer of 2009, I was posted to Afghanistan on my third tour. I previously served in Iraq and in Kosovo. This is a photo of me in the green zone in the upper Sangin Valley, 8 kilometres north of Sangin. About this time, 3 years ago, I was getting ready to go on a patrol that was to clear the route to our forward operating base. We were to bring in vital supplies of food, ammunition and water. There was only one road linking that we could resupply, so the enemy knew we used it and they laid a lot of devices. We considered the route a high-risk route search, and we had the Army's best bomb search team in front of us to clear the route. Throughout the day they found a number of devices carrying out controlled explosions on each one. The vehicle behind me is what I was in that day. I was in the passenger seat, known as the commander's seat. I had a gunner with a 50 cal machine gun behind me and a driver. Just as we got to the end of the day, a bomb went off right underneath the vehicle you just saw. It would have put up a dust cloud very similar to this. My platoon sergeant, who was behind me, feared the worst and sent that over the net to ensure that a helicopter was in the sky coming to pick me up. A 19-year-old female medic came forward, found my vehicle and saw that where I should have been in the commander's seat, I wasn't there. She went past the vehicle to find me collapsed against the wall with severely broken legs, a broken arm and a brain injury. The driver had a broken ankle and the gunner was suffering from concussion. Once I was stabilised on the seat, they called in a helicopter. It was an American US Pedro with a call sign with a motto of "So others may live." They will land whatever's happening on the ground to give the soldiers the morale that they need, that if they do become a casualty, they can be evacuated. Sure enough, it picked me up, took me to Camp Bastion, and eventually on to Selly Hospital in Birmingham. You can imagine what it was like. The summer of 2009, we were taking a lot of casualties. Indeed, I was with a battle group of 800 soldiers. By the end of the summer, we had 28 fatalities and over 50 very seriously injured. Part of my recovery on the way back, they gave me a whole load of ketamine to knock me out. And I was blown up on a Sunday and woke up in the hospital on a Friday. And for those of you that haven't taken ketamine, I was hallucinating a lot and coming in and out of consciousness. I had my family next to me, and I woke up and I told a brother and a doctor that Ozzy Osbourne had been to visit, thinking that's what I hallucinated. Sure enough, Ozzy Osbourne really had been to visit. I can't really remember it. But it was from that point of injury that Help for Heroes has really made it a difference. I've had 20 operations to date. I had a metal frame like this on my leg for 12 months, but I've been very grateful that I have my limbs. I have too many colleagues who don't have any limbs. I think the important thing to understand about Help for Heroes is exactly who they look after. I'm going to use the example of Rifleman James Brown, who I trained at Catterick for 6 months. He arrived wearing a hoodie. He looked like the sort of guy that when you saw him walking down the street at night, you would cross the other side of the road. But he said he wanted to do his bit, and he was joining to support the armed forces when he knew they were at war. He spent 6 months at Catterick, training hard, and finished combat ready to go straight to Afghanistan. And indeed, that's what he looked like on the day he passed out. He couldn't immediately deploy to Afghanistan because he was 17, so he waited 2 weeks before he was old enough to deploy. And he immediately joined his battalion, 3rd Battalion, the Rifles in Afghanistan. He was posted to the reconnaissance platoon in Sangin, very near where I was injured, and unfortunately 2 weeks after arriving in theatre, he was killed by a suicide bomber just outside his patrol base. Help for Heroes, it doesn't only support those injured, it also supports the bereaved families. I went on after leaving hospital to join a number of colleagues at the Defence Medical Rehabilitation Centre, Headley Court. At the time, it had never been so busy, and Help for Heroes have made a real difference by providing them with a fantastic pool. They're now looking long term. The soldiers that have been injured are generally under 25 years old. They generally don't have any substantial qualifications in things as simple as English and maths, and they will need a lifetime support. They've invested in personnel recovery centres across the country, which is somewhere where they can go to when they're not in rehab at Headley Court, and when they're transitioning from their military career they thought they had for life into the civilian world. And these facilities that have sprung up across the country are going to be there forever, and it is this that Help for Heroes is now concentrating on. But if you can take anything away from Help for Heroes outside of the work that they do, if you can just cast your minds back just over the last few days during the Paralympics, where one double amputee rower in an explosion, he came 4th in a photo finish, another one threw the discus and did very well. But there's a whole load of other ones, and one of the guys I like to talk about is a guy called Corporal Ricky Ferguson, Military Cross. Ricky won his Military Cross while he had one of his colleagues on his shoulder who had been severely injured. They couldn't get to him and rescue him because it was too dangerous, but Ricky, being this guy's commander, ran out, picked the guy up, put him on his shoulder, and hit an explosive device at the same time. He's lost both, he used to be 6'4", he lost both his legs above the knees, he's lost most of his fingers, and he's had an eyeball removed. Ricky carried the Olympic flame recently, the 300 metres down the road, and at the end of it, he just wanted to say, let this be an example to everybody that whatever your barriers are, if I can get up and walk 300 metres, you can do what you want to do. And it's when you look at people like that, what they stand for, you can draw a lot of inspiration, and they really are a very inspirational charity to be involved in. And there's countless other stories like that as well. The guy in the top right-hand corner was the IED operator. The account was the bomb search and disposal officer who came to deal with my device. He went on, after exploiting the device that blew me up, to be very seriously injured himself. The guy has 2 children and the rest of his life in front of him. And it's this support that is so critically needed that Help for Heroes give. It's great Deloitte are involved, and if you have any questions afterwards, I'll be around to answer them. Guys, thanks very much.